of you today. That's good. That's good. Give it one more 30 seconds and we'll get started. Hello, Ellen Wynn. How you doing? Live alert enthusiastic.
All right, we are live on YouTube. Wade, you're good to start whenever.
Okay, guys. Today's going to be kind of fun. It's an important one. I hope you listen. It's about the new Georgia, Florida disclosure laws that went into effect on January the 1st. And I just want to make everybody aware that if you, as long as you're working directly with David Allen Capital, you're not going to have any issues with any of this stuff. It's when you go out and get your a direct contract because you think you're going to fund more than we can fund for you, and then you come to find out you're never going to fund with these people because they're taking your leads and selling to other places. The people that give individual contracts out these days are few and far between the ones that we even want to do business with. We have contracts with a lot of them, and they tell me and show me whenever you guys have submitted business to them. So if you are an independent agent, and you are, but if you're an independent agent that has decided to go get contracts other places, then Dave and I've talked. It would be better just not to submit business with us, to be quite honest with you. And I want to talk today about the Florida disclosure law, really more so than the Georgia. Georgia's more like California, New York, Utah, Virginia, Massachusetts, Connecticut, and it goes on and on and on. And then you're saying that you're going to have certain things that you have to do disclosure wise when you're talking to clients about getting them funded. It doesn't affect you as long as you're going through the Bank Breezy platform at all, because we do all that for you. It's whenever you decide that you're going to do it yourself, and because you know more, then you're going to be responsible for what happens. So here's what I want to talk to you about, and I am going to, let's see, I got to share. Let me go back here and share screen. Share the screen. Hold on one second, guys. Sorry about that. I hit the wrong button, but I'm old. And when you're old, you don't have to do technology as good as 11-year-olds do. That's so funny because that's what we do whenever when Joyce and I are out and we got some kind of technology problems, we go into the neighborhood and find an 11-year-old to come and help us. All right, I'm going to share the screen with you guys. Thumbs up. Ellen, is that screen up? Perfect. I always like to do it this way, where I first talk about what our benefit and our marketing partnership with Bank Breezy and David Allen Capital is all about. As you know, it's a 100% online platform. We've actually enhanced this platform greatly, asking less questions, making it more sleek, making it more user-friendly. And then we're going to continue doing that. It's the number one success tool that any of your client base is going to need, and that is working capital. As you know, we pay commissions on a daily basis to you guys. So if we get funded today, there's going to be a commission paid the next day to somebody. Your only requirement is to go out and get the word out. Whether you get it out with marketing material online or however, it's going to make a difference that from state to state what you can and can't say. And that's why it's always good to go buy, purchase the Connect cards, because they already have everything on it that you're going to need legally to talk about the program, the funding program. And also, it stands to reason that we're going to get 4 to 6 renewals from every client that you bring to us, whether that takes 6 months or 6 years. Usually they get their first renewal in about 90 days, and most of them are taking advantage of that. First thing I want to talk to you about is the Florida and Georgia disclosure laws. As far as Georgia's concerned, nothing to fear there. And there's nothing to fear anywhere as long as you're going through the Bank Breezy platform. Fear should not even come into the picture. But they're their disclosure laws are just like Virginia and some others, where we have to talk to them about certain disclosures whenever we're making a presentation, whether it's in writing or talking to them, which includes talking to them about factor rates, how they work, talking to them about how the lender fee affects them, where it comes out. There's a way that we have to present it to them. So it's not really going to be a huge deal. Now, Florida's a little bit different. Florida, and this is no joke. In Florida, here are some of the things you can't do any longer. You can't assess, collect, or solicit an advance fee from businesses to provide a service as a broker in Florida. This is precludes, adding funding fees like lender fees and that sort of thing. But if you're going out there and you're finding a client for David Allen Capital, and you're finding that client and you're charging them a fee on top of what commissions are being paid, then you violated the law. And it's not a joke of what they're doing down in Florida now. There's certain things you got to do. You got to put and we'll talk about that in a second. You got to have your name and your phone number and all this stuff on all this material that you're doing down in Florida. So just be aware of that. I'm going to be in Florida next week, and I'm going to be meeting with multiple lenders that are wanting to be part of our platform. And I'm going to go over to make sure that they got all the new disclosure information for me to take advantage of. If they don't, I'm not going to do business with them. And there's a lot of lenders out there that we got contracts with that haven't provided that, but I've made them provide it to us. And so the bottom line is, it's so easy to do this. Just do it through the Bank Breezy platform. If you make false or misleading representations or omit material facts when you're out there talking about it in Florida, directly or indirectly, you could be committing some kind of fraud and deception. And by the way, I run across that with a lot of competitors out there all the time, saying things that just aren't accurate or true. We are very careful to make sure that the client understands what they can and can't do, the difference between interest-based funding versus revenue-based funding. So here's what the punishment is in Florida. The Attorney General put this out. A violation for doing any of this stuff in Florida is $500 per incident, not to exceed 20,000. Plus, they've got all these other little things that they're putting in there for what aggregated victims and all this other rules. These rules are signed into law. They went into play. They actually were signed into law in June, but they all went into play on January the 1st. All I want you guys to understand is, if you're currently submitting files through Bank Breezy platform, and also through other, I'm sorry, I misspelled the word groups there, but ISO groups, or directly to lenders, I want you not to submit any deals to us. Because if you're in California, New York, New Jersey, Maryland, Utah, Montana, Nevada, Georgia, Virginia, Massachusetts, Connecticut, I got 2 Georgias on there. I guess that must make it important. Then you just need to understand that you're not going to put us at risk. Let us do what we do. Understand we already have met with every single one of our lender partners. We've discussed in great deal. I've actually educated 1 or 2 of our lender partners on some information that they didn't realize had to happen on the disclosures. This is never a problem. I'm only saying it because this is going to be a video. It's going to be on our back office. So if anyone ever says we never told you, we did. And it really shouldn't even concern you if you're the only ones on this call that that watch this that should be concerned are those who have direct contracts. And there's a reason that we have basically try to shield ourselves from the brokers that want to represent everybody in the country. And here in this folder, I have a multi-million-dollar insurance policy. And this multi-million-dollar insurance policy, it protects us for a lot of things, but it certainly will not protect us from fraud. So we're going to make darn sure that everything's done the right way. So if you don't like the way that we sometimes present to clients, understand there's a rhyme and a reason for that. Georgia has not implemented the strictness of Florida. And I anticipate all states in the country doing this on any financial products that are out there. And there are some financial products that people are getting upfront monies on that in certain states are illegal. So, I mean, in other words, if you charge someone $5,000 to go find them funding, that you can't do that in almost, well, none of these states with disclosure laws. So that's really all I want to talk about. It's usually I try to talk to you about things that they're going to really help you get new business in. But today I just felt a need to just let you know that this is what's happening. If you're going to be a Lone Ranger, be that Lone Ranger, but if you're going to go through Bank Breezy platform, you're going to know things are done right, and you're going to know that we are going to follow through and keep you informed of everything that's happening throughout the entire country. So if anybody has any questions, I'll be glad to answer them. About this or anything else? No questions, Ellen? Okay. Okay, Harlequin.
Okay, sorry, I was trying to see if I could get my microphone hooked up, my other microphone. A question for you. Could it have been that instead of having 2 Georgias on that list, you should have had Florida added there?
Maybe so, and maybe so.
Okay.
Maybe I did leave Florida off. I did this very quickly this morning because it just dawned on me that after talking to one of our lender partners this morning, and they were just emphasizing how to do things, and that was on deck that I was talking to, and how to do things the right way in Florida, which I already knew, but I wanted to hear them tell me how they thought the right way was.
Okay. And just out of curiosity, because I know some people that are in a different space, they do SBA loans. And I know that's not our space, but they charge an upfront fee in Georgia. Is that not going to be allowed?
What I would do is anybody who's charging upfront fees, I tell them to look up the state disclosure laws. And
Okay.
I mean, I can only tell you about, I'm only going to tell you about, because it's talking about any financing, I'm only going to tell you about what we do and can't do in revenue-based funding.
Okay. And I
I'm not
appreciate
smart enough to think about all that other stuff.
Okay. All right.
All right.
I can
Thank you.
appreciate that. And I appreciate you doing all of the effort that you do as far as getting this information for us and keeping us compliant. So thank you for that.
But show me how thankful you are and call your client and tell them to make his decision this morning on those 2 offers.
Oh, you gave me
I copied you on that.
Okay. All right.
Thank you.
I didn't see
Thank
it.
you.
Thank you.
Thanks. Chris.
Wade, how are we doing today? Thank you so much for sharing your time with us. Quick question. Have any of the lenders mentioned that their requirements are going to be going up? Specifically, instead of 3 months, looking more like at 4 or 5 months for consistent monthly revenue.
Well, they change all the time in certain states, and whenever they change them, it's never going to probably be over 4 months. But when anything like that happens, it's an automatic thing that we do in the system, so that the people that are submitting already know what they're supposed to do. So it's not something you have to be aware of, but anytime that we have a disclosure state, then things change, and we change it in our back end if needed. But for example, we're not required right now to get an additional statement in the state of Georgia right now, I'm pretty sure. So whatever happens, then we tell our tech folks, and they take care of it, and then it's just automated in the system.
Okay. Second question, with the existing lenders that you speak with, I'm talking to one out of here in Bloomfield Hills, Michigan, and they're becoming interested. They've been in the lending, I'll say arena for probably 10 years now. But they're becoming overburdened with non-qualified applicants. And they wanted to know if DAC was looking for another possible vendor.
Well, but I'm always looking for lenders that are in the space and understand the space. If they're brand new in the space, I really don't want to take them on right away because they're going to have some growing pains that they don't really understand yet. I don't care what kind of experience you have in whether you're doing automotive lending or whether you're doing commercial property lending. When you get into the revenue-based space, it's a little bit different animal. And you can't be if you're going to be too strict, then you're worthless for us. And if you're going to be too loose, you're worthless for yourself. And I just want to make sure we do look at every one of our lenders as partners. And Chris, so when they are putting out something foolish, and I know that there's no way they have done their backgrounds yet, and I already have 5 other lenders that have told me that this person did such and such. I have a fiduciary responsibility to them and to David Allen Capital and to Bank Breezy to talk to them. I want to make sure they have all the information that they need because we want to be good partners. So I want them to be a good partner too. So if they feel like they got the everything in place, I'd love to talk to them. If they got everything in place to become a lender in this space.
Would 10 years be significant, or are you looking for more experience than 10 years?
Oh, no. But you just said that they were, I thought you said they were not in this space and they wanted to come into this space.
No, they've been independent for 10 years now, but they're just coming across too many unqualified applicants.
There have been independent lenders in the revenue-based funding space.
Yes.
I mean, yeah, I mean, I'll look all day long at these unqualified, as they say, people. If they'd like for us, I'd love to talk to them about it. I mean, probably a lot of these could be done through the through the up to 10K in 10 minutes or less system.
Okay. And one last question. I just had I was on a webinar last week, and it was automotive suppliers. Do you foresee this year or next where we may be able to provide capital assistance for them? Over here in southeastern Michigan, when I was on the webinar talking with them, they had said right now we're probably a good 3 billion short because we cannot get access to capital other than through traditional banks. And right off the top, that's only for tier 1 suppliers.
Mm-hmm.
And he says tier 2 and 3, they're just, they basically support tier 1 suppliers, but they can't get the funding that they need. Banks.
Yeah, but you're talking about big fundings, aren't you?
No, like around 300,000-400,000.
I mean, again, we're not going to, Dave and I are talking, we're not going to stray from revenue-based funding. We've already tried straying from that. And when we do, we find out, well, there's all these licensing quirks that I don't want to have to go do and understand. But more importantly, when you stray from this, then you get where you have a file that looks great. You put all this work in it for months before you get the answer. And we want to stay within a couple of days. If we can do revenue-based funding, it's going to keep turning. There's so freaking many people out there that need that. I mean, I can tell you that, as I say, 7 out of 10 need it within 90 days and 4 out of 10 need it today. They just may not tell you that right away. So I don't know that we would be interested in trying to get away from our space, but if they've got people that have that are doing the revenue, we can get the funding.
No, I specifically explained to them that this is revenue-based funding only. This is not a traditional advancement where you're looking at 3 or 4 or 5 years. This is short term, but it's based on your monthly revenue. And a couple of times the questions came up, well, we need 300,000, but we're only at 200,000. I says, well, realistically, then you can hope for 250, but any existing debt you have is going to be deducted from that.
Well, I just got a 250,000 average revenue funded for, I mean, not funded, but we're working through it. I got the offer of 500,000. So if the paperwork looks good, they can get up to 200%.
And
If
then
we're talking about the high 600s, mid 700s, FICOs, along with clean paper with not a lot of NSS and they're in the industry specific. I mean, this one I'm talking to is in construction. By the way, I just funded one last week for 158,000 that got over 200%.
nice. No, everything I discuss is always based on revenue funding. I don't,
Hey, I want to talk to anybody that wants to talk to us that have those kind of clients.
okay, awesome. Thank you so much, Wade.
Thank you, buddy. Ellen Wynn.
Wade, I'm so glad to see you back. Glad you're feeling better and have overcome COVID. Praise God.
That's a nasty thing, isn't it?
Well, I don't know. I've been fortunate. I have not had that visit me. So thank goodness for that. Hey, I got a question. I'm getting messages from some agents that are on here. Can you explain your comments about if you're affiliated with another lender and you have direct contacts and versus presenting business with DAC? Because I know we have agents in the field that have been with other lenders for years. Can you elaborate so that that's crystal clear as to whether they can continue working with those other lenders? Does that jeopardize their relationship of working with DAC?
No, it does. No, they can do that. But when I get into a competitive situation in a disclosure state, I don't want to be in a competitive disclosure state situation with my own rep. In other words, the only time that that rep that you got is going to be competitive with me is if this file has been turned down by everybody. I mean, it's got to be turned down by everybody, but there's 2 or 3 out there that'll take every file, as you know, Ellen, and they don't do their background checks until the end. So I don't know whether they're going to get funded or not. It's a coin flip, whether they're going to get funded. And most of these agents that I'm talking about are if they've already if they're already with a company, they can still do that. But if they get a competitive situation with DAC, a lot of times these brokers are telling the client, because they can make more money, they can make a couple more points by telling them, don't take the offer. And I can always tell, because the broker always calls me and says, who's the offer from? And they'll want to know who the offer from, because there's really only 2 or 3 contracts out there that I'm talking about. And I'm not going to name names on here, but there's about 2 or 3 contracts, because I know that if I get a file and I get more than just those people giving me offers, then I already know that I'm not going to have to, I don't care about their contracts, because they're not going to be able to beat our program. They're just not. But there are certain contracts that they will make a couple more points, maybe 2 or 3 more points off of it, or maybe 4, if they can get it funded. And I don't mind them submitting business, but if you're going to do it in Florida and Georgia and some of these disclosure states, it's going to be, I mean, if we get into a competitive situation like that, I know, because I'll know that whether they submitted it with that, then I'm going to bow out of that quickly, because I don't want to. I don't know what they're saying. I mean, they may think they're brilliant in this industry. They've been doing it forever. But what I'm learning is that I'm learning something every day. I've been doing this for almost 10 years now. And I know that there are lenders that don't provide. I can tell you 3 lenders that most of these agents have a contract with that do not provide you with the correct disclosure information. They say they put it in their contract. That's fine that you put it in your contract, but there are disclosures for making offers too that they don't give you any of that help. The reason that I get help on those is I don't need them to give it to me, because I got another 17 lenders that all do adhere to that, and they tell me exactly how to legally go through that minefield in those particular states, and that's what we do. I'm just concerned about using the DAC name or the Bank Breezy name in those disclosure states where you're really competing against us, and maybe you're not. Maybe all of them, Ellen, maybe they all know exactly what I'm talking about, and they all have all this education, and if they do, great. I just don't want to have a situation, and I know David doesn't either, we've talked about this, where we're competing against ourselves with our own brokers.
So would it be fair to say something that you've said many times, you and David both, that if you're gonna submit business, either submit it through DAC first or don't submit it at all? So don't come back to DAC after you've submitted everywhere else. Is that still kind of
Yeah, that's kind of, I think you hit the nail on the head there.
okay, perfect.
We don't want to be a trash can. Because I'm gonna get offers on things that you're not gonna get with the same lender. It's happened. I'll name this lender because they love me. It's Spartan Capital. It's happened with them where people have tried to go there. As soon as they know they're a DAC broker of any sort, they terminate them. But until then, they don't. So that I'm always going to get a better offer because of our relationship and because of what we're willing to do.
Awesome. Appreciate
I
you.
really thank you. I really thank you for asking that. And we're not trying to push anybody away. We'll take everybody's business, but we don't want the business in those particular states I mentioned if we're going to be competitive.
Good deal.
Thank you. And then our final hand is Matt DeHame.
Well, great to see you, Wade Cordell. You look great. I talked to you
Thank
today
you.
earlier. I thought I was talking to a 35-year-old kid. No, you got all that energy back, man. Woo!
Yeah.
Well, let's talk numbers. Let's just talk about motivation here in this year. I really appreciate I echo Ellen's sentiments about your and Harlequin actually mentioned about your going the extra mile and doing this. I know it's subjective that you're doing this and people don't appreciate. Everybody's got a function here, but the most important thing is that I think you'll agree, our relationship, you and me, and when we get things done, and Nick, is communication, right? So
Yep, you're right.
I mean, it's pretty much everything. And I used to think in sales, like I said, give me all the information you have, because anything that you think is unimportant might be the key, the difference maker. So I try not to edit or leave anything to chance. My old rule in business is never leave anything to chance if you can have anything to do with it. So I'm glad that we do this. I'm glad we've opened this, this line of communication. More and more agents coming on should know, that their expectations of not just with their clients, but your what you can and what you can't do, and accepting the outcome, which is a hard thing to do. And I just want to plug this in here at the end because it's hard for me. I ran into somebody, as you well know, another a contact, a prospect, and submitted a file, a construction company, New Jersey, good looking, business, 2 years plus. Guy's not a U.S. citizen, doesn't even have a resident card. I mean, so he couldn't. He's disqualified, and you don't know it until the last minute. I would not know that. His English is great, but there's a lot of folks like that. And I suggested to you maybe we should put it on the intake form. You say it's 1 in 100. Are you a U.S. citizen? Click, check. On the box somewhere. If we could add that, that's kind of what what I was thinking.
Yeah, I'm actually talking about adding that. That's an easy thing, but it doesn't mean that they're going to say yes or no.
Yeah, that's true.
Properly.
But I mean, if no, permanent resident. But I'm not focusing on that. It's kind of like David's mentioned about swinging outside the strike zone, and about swinging, pitches inside the strike zone, rather than me swinging outside the, looking at an outside.
By the way, let me make a comment on that. I actually have worked out a deal with a lender on yesterday after you and I had this discussion on folks who are not citizens, and they don't have a U.S. permanent residence, but as long as they've been in business for 5 years, I'm going to be able to get them funded now. And but if they want that 5-year deal, and knowing that they're not going to be gone tomorrow.
I remember, if you recall, I had that restaurant in Ridgewood, New Jersey. They're both Italian citizens. They weren't even Americans, but they had a house. They had, and one of
Yep.
our lenders was willing to say, you know what, we're still going to give them an offer, even though
Yep,
they
you're
don't.
right.
So, yeah. And if they're reasonable, that's cool. I'm so glad to hear that. 5 years, so that'll be, that'll be great. So listen, Wade, I just wanted to say to you, thank you for all you do. I'm glad you're well. Let's have a phenomenal year. I think this is, the first call of the year. I think everybody on here plugs in here to get little pearls and tidbits and insight. But I think the attitude thing is just put this all together. We're all a team.
Yep.
And as far as going outside the box to other lenders and doing this yourself, I mean, you'd be foolish. And just look at our pay plan. I would say this to Ellen's, comment about agents going elsewhere, coming back here. What foolish behavior. Anyway, there's so many reasons against that, but the number one reason is our pay plan. You get funded somewhere else. Great. You're losing all of the overrides, all the positioning in our pay plan. I mean, with all that bonus revenue, it's just like, what planet are you from? If you're not building a team, if you're just really independent, well, you'll last a while. But the real money, as David is throwing here, I mean, if you're in this business to earn money and get residual, retire and live on this, is build a team and have people and work on all of your submissions to count toward your qualification. So, I mean, that's what I would think about that. Like, what in the world would you do that for? So, aside from the fact that you're always going to come back and get a better offer, you're competitive because the lenders more, you have more options. And the more options and the more versatility, obviously, the better the outcome for the client. And it's just foolish to go elsewhere. That's all I have to say. So let's rock and roll.
Fantastic. Great. Thank you so much for your comments. And guys, DAC is the greatest sales team I've ever seen. I mean, it's a family. It's got the best compensation in the industry. It's got the best programs in the industry. It's got the best leadership in the industry. It's a home. It was a work in progress for several years, but boy, has it gotten full circle. And I'm really excited about the pharmacy program. I'm going to give some hints to some folks of what we're doing to get huge numbers of members, and I'm experimenting on a few things, and they're actually coming through for me. So I can't wait to talk and share about those. But you guys have a great week. Thank you, Matthew. Thank you for everybody who spoke today, and you guys have a blessed rest of the week.